On the scorched rim of the galaxy where dying stars blinked like forgotten warnings, a lone human salvage scout named Leela Cruz drifted through the wreckage of 1,000 wars. Her ship, the Iron Sparrow, was small and battered, but it carried something rare among humans: curiosity without greed, while others fled the sector after reports of a phantom vessel cloaked in violet mist. Lila followed the trail. She found not a warship, but a crystalline spire floating in the void, humming with ancient energy. The spire was not made of metal or stone, but something in between, a substance that shimmered like frozen lightning and pulsed with a slow, steady rhythm as if it were breathing. Lila had seen strange things in her years, scavenging derelict, freighters and ghost stations, but this was different. This felt alive. She ran her gloved fingers over the ship's console, her eyes fixed on the long-range scanner that showed no heat, no radiation, no life signs. And yet something inside that spire was watching her. She could feel it like a whisper against the back of her neck. Most would have turned away. Fear was a survival instinct after all, and the rim was no place for the careless. But Lila had never been careless, just stubborn and kind, in a way that confused even herself. She eased the Iron Sparrow closer, docking clamps extending with a soft hiss as they latched onto the smooth surface of the spire. There was no airlock, no hatch, just a seamless wall that rippled like water when she pressed her palm against it, then without warning it opened. Inside, the air was cool and still, carrying the faint scent of ozone and something else, something sweet, like blooming night flowers on a forgotten world. The corridor stretched ahead, glowing faintly with veins of blue light running through the walls. Lila moved slowly, her boots silent on the glassy floor, her pulse steady, but her mind racing. She had expected traps, or silence, or death, but not this quiet beauty. At the heart of the spire she found them, curled around a throne of black obsidian, slept a dragon the size of a freighter. Its scales shimmered like liquid night, shifting between deep violet and starless black. With every slow breath it took, the air around it warped, slightly as if reality itself bent to accommodate its presence. Its wings were folded tight against its body, each membrane threaded with glowing filaments that pulsed in time with the spire's rhythm, and beside it stood a woman, tall and slender, with silver-white hair that drifted as if underwater. She wore no armor, no weapon, just a simple robe woven from threads that seemed to drink the light around her. Her skin glowed faintly, not with heat but with something deeper, older, etched with runes that pulsed in time with the dragon's breath. Her eyes were the color of fractured nebulas swirling with galaxies and sorrows. He did not speak at first. She only watched Lila with a gaze that felt like it could peel back layers of time and memory. Lila froze. Not from fear, but from awe. She had seen alien species before, some with too many eyes, some with no faces at all. But this woman felt different. Ancient yet present, powerful yet still. After a long silence, the woman tilted her head. Slightly. "Everyone fears me. But why don't you, human?" she asked softly. Lila swallowed, her throat dry, but her voice came out clear. "I don't know who you are, but you haven't hurt me yet." The woman blinked slowly, as if the idea of restraint was foreign. To her, most see me and run, most see Kale and scream. She gestured to the sleeping dragon, who let out a low rumbling sigh without waking. "Maybe most people haven't had a reason to stay," Lila said, stepping forward just a little. "I came looking for answers, not trouble." The woman studied her for a long moment, then her eyes flicked to the canteen hanging at Lila's hip, a simple steel flask marked with a faded earth symbol. "You carry water," she said. Lila nodded. "Yeah, it's fresh, filtered from the ship's recycler." The woman's lips parted slightly, as if tasting the word. "Fresh. We do not have water like this anymore," she whispered. Lila unclipped the canteen without thinking and held it out. The woman stared at it like it was a relic from a lost age. Then her fingers brushed Lila's as she took it. The touch was cool but not cold, electric but not painful. Lila did not pull away. The woman unscrewed the cap and brought it to her lips. She drank slowly, then lowered it, her eyes closing for just a second. When she opened them again, there was something new in them, something softer. "Thank you," she said. "My name is Lila Cruz." Leela said. The woman hesitated. Then, "I am Naira, and the dragon Kale. He is my brother, my shield." My shadow, Lila, looked at the massive creature, again now seeing not just power but loyalty. How long have you been out here? Long enough to forget the sound of another voice, Naira said. Lila nodded. She understood silence better than most. Why did you come here? Because no one else would. Lila said simply. Naira's expression shifted, something unreadable passing through her eyes. You are not like the others. I try not to. Naira turned and walked toward the obsidian throne, her bare feet making no sound on the smooth floor. She sat and patted the space beside her, not a command, just an invitation. Lila sat for hours. They spoke not of war or weapons, but of small things of Earth's oceans, and Naira's memories of twin moons that once hung over her home world, of songs her people used to sing to calm solar flares, of how Kale loved to chase comets when he was young. Lila told her about growing up in the asteroid belt, how she learned to fix engines before she could read, how her mother used to say kindness was the only thing that couldn't be stolen. Naira listened as if every word was precious. When the Iron Sparrow's comms crackled to life with a distress signal from a nearby mining outpost, under attack by raiders, Lila stood immediately. I have to go. Naira rose with her. You will return. It was not a question. Naira reached out and touched Lila's wrist, her fingers lingering just a moment too long. Then go. Lila ran back through the spire, her heart pounding, not from fear but from something else, something warm and strange. As the Iron Sparrow pulled away from the crystalline structure, Lila looked back through the viewport. Naira stood at the opening, her silver hair catching the dim light of a distant star. Kale had woken and now stood beside her, his massive head lowered as if bowing. Lila did not know it yet, but she had just changed the fate of two species, and when she returned days later with supplies and a promise of safe passage, she found the spire gone. For 3 weeks, she searched the sector, scanning every frequency, calling into the void. Then on the 21st day, a ripple appeared in space ahead of her. The spire re-emerged. Naira stood at its edge alone. You came back, she said when Lila stepped inside. You said I would. I hoped. Lila handed her another canteen, this one filled with rainwater she had collected from a terraformed dome on Mars. Naira took it, and this time she smiled. The raiders had been dealt with. The mining outpost was safe, but Lila knew that was not why she had returned. She had returned because for the first time in years she felt seen, and Naira had returned because for the first time in centuries she felt hope. They sat again, this time in silence that needed no words. Outside, the spire drifted near the edge of known space where laws did not reach and empires dared not tread. But something was coming, something that had been hunting Naira for longer than Lila had been alive. The Krellin hegemony, a machine empire that fed on the essence of ancient beings, had traced the energy signature of the spire. They did not know about Lila yet, but they would, and when they came they would not care about kindness or canteens or the quiet bond forming between a human and an alien woman who once thought she was alone. For now, though, there was only this moment. Beings from different worlds sitting in the heart of a living ship, a dragon sleeping nearby, and the stars watching silently as history began to turn. Lila did not know what lay ahead, but she knew she would not face it alone, and Naira, who had walked through eons of solitude, finally understood why humans wrote songs about home. Because sometimes home was not a place. It was a person, and in the quiet hum of the spire, between the breaths of a dragon and the pulse of ancient runes, a new story began, one that would shake the galaxy, but for now it was just Lila and Naira, and that was enough. Naira was no elf, though humans called her that. For lack of a better word, she was the last of the Vathari, a species that once commanded cosmic storms and sang stars into alignment. Her people did not build cities. They grew them from light and memory. Their ships were not forged but dreamed into existence, and their weapons were not made of steel, but of silence and sorrow. Now all that remained was her, and Kale. They had wandered the void for decades, hiding in the folds between galaxies, moving. Only when the hunters grew too close, the Krellin hegemony had risen from the ashes of a dead universe. A machine empire with no soul, but endless hunger. They did not conquer. They consumed. They stripped ancient beings of their essence to fuel weapons that could bend time and unravel reality. And the Vathari were the rarest prize of all. Lila did not know this at first. She only knew that Naira carried a sadness deeper than space itself. and that Kyle watched her with eyes that held more wisdom than any human library. After the second visit, Lila stopped leaving. She patched the iron sparrow to the spire with magnetic couplings and ran power lines between them. She brought food blankets and music, old earth songs that crackled through the spire's walls like gentle rain. Naira listened with her eyes closed, her fingers tracing the rhythm on the obsidian throne. One evening, as the two sat near the edge of the spire, watching a nebula bloom in slow motion, Lila asked why the Krellans wanted her. Naira was quiet for a long time, then she spoke. They believe our life force can power their final weapon, a device that can erase entire timelines. They have already taken 3 species, the Jirai, the Morel, and the Othari, all gone, not dead, erased as if they never were. Lila felt cold. Why haven't they found you yet? Because I hide in places they cannot see. I move through the quiet between heartbeats. I sleep in the shadow of black holes. But they are getting closer. Lila knew it was true. The comms had been picking up strange signals, pulses of static that did not belong to any known language, and the stars in this sector were dimming one by one as if something vast was passing through them. That night, Lila made a decision. You should come. With many returned, her nebula eyes wide to Earthius. It is too dangerous, more dangerous than staying here. Naira looked at Kale, who lifted his head slowly as if he had heard every word. They will follow me, Lila. They will burn your world to ash just to reach Methan. We stop them before they get there. How? By showing them we are not alone. Naira studied Lila's face, searching for fear, arrogance, desperation, but found only resolve. You would risk your home for a stranger. You are not a stranger. Something shifted in Naira, then a crack in the ice around her heart. The next morning they left. Lila guided the Iron Sparrow through a series of hidden jump routes she had mapped over years of salvage runs, routes that avoided major trade lanes and military patrols. Naira sat beside her, silent but present, her presence calming the ship's systems in ways Lila could not explain. Lights flickered, less engines, hummed smoother. Even the air tasted cleaner. Kale folded himself into the cargo bay, his massive form shrinking slightly through some ancient Vathari art until he fit like a cat, curling in a sunbeam. He slept most of the journey, but his tail would twitch whenever Lila passed by, as if checking she was still there. On the third day, the first Krellan probe appeared. It was small, no larger than a shuttle, but it moved wrong, like it was sliding through space rather than flying. It emitted no signal, no heat, just a cold absence that made the sensors scream. Lila prepared to run, but Naira placed a hand on her arm. Wait. She closed her eyes and whispered a word that had no sound but vibrated through the hull. The probe stopped. Then it shattered into dust. Lila stared. They are testing, she said. They want to see if I am weak. Unira smiled faintly. Not anymore. As they neared the Sol system, the tension grew. Earth's defense grid pinged the Iron Sparrow immediately. 3 frigates moved to intercept their comms, blaring warnings in 6 languages. Lila responded with her clearance codes and a live feed of the spire. What the hell is that? One officer muttered over open channel. It's a friend, Lila said simply. Command demanded she dock at Lunar Station 7 for inspection. Naira refused. They will not understand me. They have to. Lila argued for hours, until a compromise was reached. She would bring Naira alone to a secure observation chamber on the dark side of the moon. No weapons, no contact, just visual confirmation. Naira agreed, but only if Kale could stay linked to her through a resonance thread, a thin filament of energy that hummed between them like a heartbeat. The meeting was tense. Through reinforced glass, Earth's top scientists and generals watched as Naira stood motionless in the center of the room, her silver hair glowing faintly. In the low light, she looks like a ghost, one whispered. She could be a weapon. Another said. Lila stood on the other side of the glass, her hands clenched. Then General Maeve Ross stepped forward. Maeve was old for a soldier, her face lined with decades of war, but her eyes were sharp and kind. She had fought in the Titan uprising and lost 2 sons to pirate raids. She knew loss when she saw it. Who are you? She asked. Through the comm, Naira turned to her. I am the last of my kind, and I am being hunted. Why? Come here because your kind once offered water to a stranger. Maeve looked at Lila, then back at Naira. And what do you want from us? Sanctuary. Nothing more. Nothing less. Maeve was silent. Then she nodded. You will stay under Lila Cruz's supervision. Any threat, and you are gone, understood. Nira bowed her head slightly. Understood. Back aboard the Iron Sparrow, now docked at a remote lunar hangar. Lila finally exhaled. You did it. No, you did that night as Earth rose over the moon's horizon. Nira stood at the viewport. Your world is so bright, she said. It's loud too, Lila said, smiling. I like the noise, KL rumbled softly from the cargo bay. In the days that followed, Leela showed Nira Earth through recordings, forests, oceans, cities, children laughing in parks, old men playing. Chess under trees, Nira watched with growing wonder. You protect so much beauty. We try, but not everyone agreed. News of the alien spread fast, fear followed, faster protests erupted in Geneva and New Delhi. Religious groups called her a demon. Scientists demanded tests. Military leaders pushed for containment. Layla fought them all. She brought Nira food every morning. Simple things, rice and beans, fruit from California, bread from Boston. Nira ate slowly, savoring each bite as if it were a gift. One afternoon, Lila found a tear on Nira's cheek. What is it? I forgot what kindness felt like. Lila reached out and wiped it away. You won't forget again. Their bond deepened in quiet moments. Nira began teaching Lila fragments of the Vathari tongue words for starlight, for courage, for home. Lila taught her how to make coffee, how to tie shoelaces, how to laugh. Kale grew fond of Lila too. He would nudge her with his snout when she entered the cargo bay. And once, when she was sick, he curled around her like a living blanket, his warmth driving away the fever. Then the attack came. Not on the moon, not on Mars, but on Proxima Centauria. Krellin fleet of 12 dreadnoughts tore through the outer colonies in under an hour. No warning, no demands, just annihilation. Arth's council panicked. They blamed Nira. She brought them here. One senator shouted, She is the bait. Leela stood before the emergency session. Her voice steady. She did not bring them. They were coming anyway, and now we have a chance to fight back. How with her? They laughed. A single alien and a dragon against a machine armada. But Maeve spoke up. Let her show us so they didn't orbit above Earth. Nira stood on the hull of the Iron Sparrow, barefoot and unarmored, Kale hovering beside her like a storm-given form. The first dreadnought emerged from warp, its hull bristling with entropy cannons. Lila held her breath. Nira raised her hands. Kale roared. The sound was not loud. It was deep. A frequency that vibrated through atoms, through time, through the very fabric of space. The dreadnought shuddered. Its armor cracked, its core imploded. In less than 10 seconds it was gone. Silence fell over every channel. Then cheers erupted from every ship in the fleet, but Nira did not celebrate. She turned to Lila, her eyes full of dread. They sent only one to test me. The real fleet is coming, and this time they will not send a scout. They will send the architect, the one who broke her people, the one who turned her sister. Lila took her hand. Then we face him together. Nira looked at her, at this small human who offered water and songs and safety. For the first time in centuries, she did not feel alone. And in that moment, something new was born, not just an alliance, but a promise. To protect this fragile world, not because it was strong, but because it was kind. And kindness was the one thing the Krellins could never understand, as Earth's lights twinkled below and Kale circled above like a guardian star. Lila and Nira stood side by side, ready for what came next. The war had begun, but so had something the galaxy had not seen in a long time. Hope. The Krellin fleet arrived sooner than expected. Not at the rim, not at Proxima Centauri, but at the edge of Earth's own system. Their ships did not roar through space. They slid into reality like shadows given form. 12 dreadnoughts, black and seamless, formed a ring around the moon. Their presence alone dimmed the star. Panic spread faster than fire. Governments collapsed into blame. Scientists begged for evacuation. Religious leaders called it Judgment Day. But Lila Cruz did not run. She stood on the command deck of the Iron Sparrow, her hand steady on the console beside her. Nira watched the enemy with eyes that remembered every loss her people had ever suffered. They are here for me, Nira said. No, Lila said. They are here for all. Of use. Earth's defenses were primitive, built for orbital skirmishes, not interstellar annihilation. The United Earth fleet had only 30 ships, most of them retrofitted freighters with bolted-on cannons. They stood no chance, but Lila broadcast a single message across all channels. civilian, military, pirate, and rebel alike. We are not alone and we are not defenseless. Then she revealed Nira and Kale to the world. Hollow feeds showed the silver-haired woman standing on the hull of a tiny salvage ship beside a dragon made of night and starlight. The image spread like wildfire. Some called them demons, others called them gods. But when the first dreadnought fired its entropy beam, and Nira raised her hands and shattered it with a single note, sung in a language older than time, the world held its breath. Victory came swift and silent. The dreadnought did not explode. It unraveled its atoms, dissolving into harmless light that drifted like snow over the Pacific. Cheers erupted from every continent. But Nira did not smile. She knew this was only the beginning. Deep in the heart of the largest Krellin vessel, the Supreme Architect watched the feed, his form, not flesh, but shifting metal woven with stolen memories. He had seen the display and he knew, something the humans did not. Only a Vaethari could kill a Vaethari, and he still had one left. Silva, Nira's estranged sister, twisted by Krellin cybernetics and bitterness. Aunt Silva had been the brightest of their kind, a weaver of light, a singer of tides, but after the fall of Vaethar, she had been captured, broken, and rebuilt into a weapon. Her mind filled with lies, her heart wrapped in chains of code. The Architect sent her not with warships, but with silence. She arrived in dreams, Earth's leaders, woke screaming from nightmares of cities burning, of Kale tearing through skyscrapers, of Nira, draining human souls to feed her power. Then the broadcasts began. Holograms of Silva appeared in public squares, her silver hair now streaked with black, her eyes cold and sharp. She spoke in perfect English, her voice smooth as poisoned honey. Nira does not protect you. She uses you. She will drain your world dry and leave your bones to float in the dark footage. Followed doctored but convincing showing. Nira drawing energy from solar panels, from power grids, even from people. Fear turned to fury, protests became riots. Evan Lila's allies wavered. General Maeve called her into a secure room. Her face grim as any of it. True Lila shook her head. No, but doubt flickered in Maeve's eyes. That night Lila found Nira on the lunar observation deck staring at Earth. Her shoulders slumped. They believe her. They are afraid. Fear makes people cruel. I should leave, no, Lila said. Stepping closer. You stay. But if I stay, they will tear themselves apart, then we prove her wrong. How? By showing them the truth. But Silva struck before they could act. She came not to a city, not to a base, but to Lila in the dead of night. As the Iron Sparrow drifted in high orbit, a ripple formed. In the air beside Lila's bunk, Silva stepped through, taller than Nira. Sharper, colder, she wore armor made of shattered Vaethari crystals. Her left arm was pure Krellin steel. Her eyes glowed with stolen power. You are the weak link, she whispered. Lila woke just in time to roll aside as Silva's blade sliced through the mattress. You think my sister cares for you? Silva hissed. She uses your kindness like a tool. You are nothing. Lila scrambled for the emergency alarm, but Silva was faster. She pinned her to the wall, one hand around her throat. Tell me, human, why does she trust you? Because I see her. Lila gasped. Not her power, her pain. Silva hesitated. In that moment, a pulse of blue light erupted from Lila's chest. The Vaethari crystal Nira had secretly woven into her jacket flared to life. Silva screamed as the pure energy burned her cybernetics. She stumbled back, her mechanical arms sparking. Lila did not attack. She only stood there, breathing hard. You were like her once. Lila said softly before they broke you. Silva's eyes flickered. Something human beneath the rage. Then she vanished in a swirl of dark energy. The attack left no physical trace. But Lila's jacket was scorched and her voice shook when she reported it. Still, some called it a hoax, but Nira believed her. At night they stood together on the ship's hull, Earth glowing below. She came for you to hurt me. Nira said. She came because she is lost. Nira turned, her face wet with tears. I failed her. No, Lila said. You can still save her. How? By showing her there is another way. Nira looked at Lila as if seeing her for the first time. Not as a human, not as a friend, but as a mirror of everything the Vaethari had forgotten. Compassion. Lila proposed a desperate plan. Let Silva believe I have turned against you. How? We stage a fight. I accuse you of draining power. I demand you leave Earth. Nira's eyes widened. They will believe it only if we make it real. It will hurt, maybe, but it will also work. Nira was silent for a long time. Then she nodded. Do it the next day. Lila stood before the United Council, her face hard. Her voice cold. Nira is dangerous, she said. She used our trust to tap into our grid, our minds, our very life force. I saw it with my own eyes. Outrage followed. Nira was ordered to leave immediately. As she walked toward the Iron Sparrow, escorted by armed guards, she did not look at Lila. But Lila watched her go, heartbreaking with every step. That night, Silva appeared again, this time in Lila's quarters. You did well, human, she said. I did what I had. To join us, help us trap her at Ceres. We will end this. Lila pretended to consider it. What do you want me to do? Fly your ship to the asteroid belt. Be our eyes, I will. Silva smiled. But it did not reach her eyes. Good. After she left, Lila activated a hidden comm link. She took the bait in the other end. Nira whispered, understood. The trap was set. Earth's last experimental graviton cannon hidden in the Ceres mining complex would fire not at Silva, but at the quantum anchor tethering her to the Krellin hive mind. If they severed that link even for a second, Nira could reach the real Silva beneath the machine. But it would be dangerous. If Silva realized the truth, she would kill Lila without hesitation the night before the mission. Lila and Nira met one last time in a secure hangar on Mars. They did not speak of plans or weapons. They spoke of small things, of the taste of strawberries, of the sound of rain on metal roofs, of how Kale liked to nap in sunbeams. Nira reached out and touched Lila's cheek, her fingers trembling. I do not know what comes after tomorrow, then let's make tonight enough. They stood together in the quiet red dust of Mars, the stars watching over them. Neither said I love you. They did not need to. The next morning, Lila flew the Iron Sparrow toward Ceres alone. Nira waited in the shadows of a dead comet, her heart pounding not from fear but from hope. Silva would come, and this time, they would be ready. The asteroid belt near Ceres hung silent under the pale light of a distant sundust and rock, drifted in slow circles like forgotten thoughts. Lila guided the Iron Sparrow through the narrow gaps, her hands steady on the controls. Though her heart hammered against her ribs, she had played her part. Well, spreading rumors of betrayal, planting false data in military logs, even arguing with General Maeve on open comms to sell the lie. Now she waited. Earth's graviton cannon hidden inside a hollowed-out mining station powered up in silence, its massive barrel aimed not at any ship, but at a single point in space. A point only Nira knew the coordinates. To Silva would come alone. That was certain. She saw herself above the Krellin fleet, above machines, above even her own creator. She believed only she could end her sister, and she wanted to do it with her own hands. Lila checked the feed from the hidden sensors scattered across the belt. Thermal, optical resonance, all quiet. Then space rippled, not with a ship but with presence. Silva emerged, riding a biomechanical serpent forged from dead stars. Its body coiled through the void scales made of crushed neutron matter, eyes burning with stolen Vathari light. She wore no helmet, her silver-black hair whipping in the non-existent wind, her cybernetic arm crackling with dark energy. You came, Lila said over open channel, her voice. Flatty always come for what is mine. Silva replied, Nira's not yours. She never was yours either. The serpent circled the Iron Sparrow, slow and predatory. Where is she hiding like she always does? Silva laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Tell me, human, why did you turn? Because I saw what she really is. And what is that? A weapon wearing a face. Silva's eyes narrowed, then she raised her hand. Prove it. Lila activated a recording she had made weeks ago. A doctored clip of Nira drawing energy from a power core. The image flickered on the Iron Sparrow's external display. Silva watched it, her expression unreadable. Good, she said, you have earned your life, for now. Then she turned her gaze toward the far edge of the belt. She is there, I can feel her. The trap was set. Lila sent a silent signal. Deep inside the Ceres station, General Maeve gave the order. Fire. The graviton cannon roared. Not with sound but with distortion. Space itself bent around the beam as it struck the exact point where Silva's quantum anchor tethered her to the Krellin hive mind. For one fraction of a second, the connection snapped. Silva screamed. Her cybernetics, Flickered, her serpent thrashed and dissolved into ash, and in that moment of silence between machine and mind, Naira appeared not with a ship, not with a weapon, but with a whisper. Sister Silva spun her eyes wide with shock and fury. You, I have waited so long to see you free. I am not free, I am perfect. No, you are broken. Naira floated closer, her hands open, empty. They lied to you. They told you our people were weak, that compassion was failure, but it was never weakness. It was our strength. These, remember the twin moons, Silva, remember how we danced under their light. Remember how Mother sang us to sleep with songs that healed the stars. Silva's breath hitched, stop. Remember, Kale, how he carried you when your wings were too small to fly. Tears welled in Silva's eyes, but she blinked them away. You cannot undo what they made me. I do not want to undo you, I want to bring you back. Lila watched from the Iron Sparrow, her hands clenched. The Krellin fleet had detected the cannon fire. They were coming fast. But this was not about them anymore. This was about two sisters. Naira reached into the folds of her robe and pulled out a shard of obsidian glowing with soft white light. Our Mother's heartstone, she said, it still beats for you. Silva stepped back, though not Naira, moved forward. I am not afraid of you. You should be. Why? Because you have claws and circuits, because they filled your head with hate. Yes, then let me show you something stronger. Ira pressed the heartstone to her own chest, then held it out. Take it, Silva. Hesitated. The Krellin signal was returning, the hive mind clawing its way back into her mind. She had second, her hand trembled. Then she reached out. As her fingers touched the stone, light erupted, not violent, not destructive, but pure. The cybernetics on. Her arm cracked and fell away. Her eyes cleared, the stolen glow fading to reveal the same nebula depth she once shared with Naira. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Naira caught her. I am sorry, I am so sorry. I know. Above them, the first Krellin dreadnought dropped out of warp, but Lila was ready. She activated the second part of the plane. Very human ship in the system fired at once. Not at the dreadnought, but at the graviton distortion field still lingering from the cannon blast. The resulting wave did not destroy the ship. It severed its link to the hive mind. One by one, the Krellin vessels went dark. Not dead, just silent, adrift. The architect had lost control on the battlefield. Silva looked up at Naira, her face raw with grief and relief. Will they forgive? May not all, Leela said, floating down beside them. But some will, and that is enough. Naira helped her sister stand. Kale appeared. Then his massive form gliding through the debris. His eyes soft as he nuzzled Silva gently. She reached up and touched his snout. You remember me? He rumbled low, a sound like distant thunder. Yes, back on Earth. The news spread fast. The alien threat was over. But the truth was more complicated. Silva surrendered to General Maeve, not as a prisoner, but as a witness. She gave them everything. The Krellin blueprints, their weak points, their fear of organic unity. Humanity had won not with firepower, but with empathy. In the days that followed, Lila and Naira walked the surface of Ceres, the red dust clinging to their boots. You saved her, Lila. Said no, she said we did. Silva stayed with Earth Science Division not as a weapon, but as a teacher, helping them understand Vathari tech. Not to copy it, but to respect it. Itkale circled the belt like a guardian, and Lila stayed with Naira. They did not speak of the future, not yet, but they did not need to. Because for the first time in centuries, the Vathari were not alone. And for the first time in her life, Lila understood what it meant to belong to something bigger than herself. The war was not over. The Krellin hegemony still existed somewhere in the dark, but they had made a mistake. They thought kindness was weakness. They were wrong, and as the twin suns of Ceres set behind the asteroids, casting long shadows over the battlefield, Lila took Naira's hand, and together they watched the stars, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as home. The war did not end with a bang, but with silence. After the battle at Ceres, the Krellin fleet vanished, not destroyed, but disconnected, their hive mind severed. They drifted in the void like empty shells, their purpose gone, their hunger stilled. Earth's scientists studied the captured dreadnoughts not to weaponize them, but to understand them. They found no pilots, no crews, just corridors filled with echoes and machines that wept. Rust like tears, Silva helped them decode the core logs, and what they discovered changed everything. The Krellins were not born evil, they were made that way, a once peaceful species twisted by fear of extinction. They had consumed others not out of malice but desperation, believing that by stealing the essence of ancient beings they could stave off their own end. It was a tragedy, not a conquest. Naira wept when she heard even monsters have reasons, she said. Lila held her hand. But reasons are not excuses. No, they are not. In the months that followed, Earth changed, not all at once but slowly. Like tides reshaping a shore, the World Council formed a new branch, the Interspecies Alliance, with Silva as its first non-human advisor. She wore simple clothes. Now, no armor, no weapons. Just a silver pendant, shaped like a twin moon. She spoke softly but firmly, teaching humans how to listen not just to words but to silence, to fear. To hope. Kyle took residence in the rings of Saturn, his massive form gliding between ice particles like a living myth. Children on Earth pointed to the sky and told stories of the gentle dragon who guarded their dreams. And Lila stayed with Naira. They did not live in a palace or a station. They built a small home on the coast of Oregon, where the ocean met the forest and the stars were bright, enough to see even through the light of cities. The house was modest wood and glass with wide windows that faced the sea inside. There were no runes, no alien tech, just books, music, and a porch swing that creaked in the wind. Every morning Lila made coffee. Every evening, Naira sang note the old Vathari songs that bent reality, but simple earth lullabies learned from recordings she had studied with care. They walked the beach barefoot, collecting shells and watching whales breach in the distance. Reporters came, sometimes hoping for grand statements or prophecies. Naira never gave them. When asked why the most feared being in the galaxy chose to live on this fragile world, she only smiled and said, "Because here someone looked at me and saw not a weapon, but a person, and that more than any war was worth protecting." But peace was not without its shadows. Deep in the outer rim, something stirred. The architect had not been destroyed, only disconnected. He floated in the dark between galaxies, his form unraveling, but his mind intact. He had watched the battle at Ceres. He had seen Silva break free. He had seen humans offer forgiveness instead of fire. And for the first time in his existence he felt something unfamiliar. Dowdy had believed the universe was a machine to be controlled. That emotion was weakness, that connection was flaw. But what if he was wrong? What if the Vathari had not fallen because they were weak, but because they were too far ahead? The thought haunted him, and in that haunting a seed of change took root. He did not return, not yet, but he stopped hunting. And in the silence that followed, the galaxy began to heal. On Earth, schools taught Vathari history, not as myth, but as lesson. Children learned that strength could be gentle, that power could be kind. Lila wrote a memoir not about battles but about water offered in the dark. Naira planted a garden, not with seeds but with light, tiny glowing flowers that bloomed only under moonlight and hummed when touched. They called them Lila Blossoms. Years passed. Silva visited, often bringing news from the Alliance. Sometimes she brought Kale, who would curl around the house like a living wall, his warmth keeping the winter chill away. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in gold and violet, Lila sat on the porch with Naira. "You ever miss the stars?" she asked. "I am still among them," Naira said, looking at her. Lila smiled. They did not speak of forever. They did not need to, because every day was enough. One morning a signal came, not from the rim, not from the Krellans, but from a distant system near the Crab Nebula. New species had made contact. They were small, fragile, their ships barely spaceworthy, but they had sent a message in broken English: "We come in peace." And with them they brought a gift, a single seed from their homeworld. Earth's council debated for days, but Lila and Naira knew what to do. They traveled to the orbital station where the alien vessel waited. The beings were insect-like, with soft chitinous shells and eyes that shimmered like oil on water. They trembled when they saw Naira, expecting wrath. Instead, she knelt and offered them water. The gesture crossed every language, every fear, every boundary. The aliens wept, and in that moment, humanity understood. They were no longer just survivors. They were guides. The HFY spirit was not about firepower or pride. It was about reaching out when others would strike, about offering kindness when the universe offered only silence. Back on Earth, Lila and Naira walked home under a sky full of starscale circled above his wings, catching the moonlight. Silva waited on the porch with 2 cups of tea. You did good, she said. We all did. That night, as the ocean whispered against the shore and the lila blossoms glowed softly in the garden, Naira took Leela's hand. Thank you, she said. For what? For seeing Malila leaned her head on Nira's shoulder. Always, and in the quiet hum of the world around them, 2 souls from different stars found peace. Not in victory, but in each other. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of light, and as long as there were those willing to share it, the dark would never win, not today, not ever.